So for the bouncing ball animation, all you need is a ball. You can download a rigged ball from the web or do a quick set of controllers and the deformer for the squash. So I will go for the second options. I show you how to do that. We start creating the sphere. Then we create circle NURBS from create NURBS primitive circle. We scale it a bit. We duplicate this one, creating another circle, and we scale it more. We select both the circles and we freeze the transformations. So all the values are set at 0. Then we go on edit, delete by type, and we delete the history. Then we go to create the deformer. We select the sphere, the geometry, and we go on create deformers, non-linear, squash. And here is our deformer. So we go in the inputs on the right and we select the squash. And as you can see, you have a series of parameters that the last two are low bound and high bound that we need to modify. These are the limits of the squash. We select the low bound first and we set the value on 0 and we snap it on the low point of the sphere so that when you squash the ball, it doesn't go under the ground. To snap it, we select W and X and we click on this point. And now we go to set the high bound at 2.2, a bit higher than the sphere. Then we go to parent all these controls. We select the sphere geometry, then pressing shift, we select the smaller circle and we press P as parent. Then we select the smaller circle, shift, the bigger one and P. And last, we select the deformer, shift, the bigger circle and P. Now you can see that the lead control is the bigger one that moves everything and we can use it for the translation. We can use the second one for the rotation. And then we have the deformer and we can manage the squash and stretch with the factor attribute on the right. Then check your animation preferences and be sure to have the frame rate set to 24 frames and turn on the auto key. This is very important, don't forget it. Let's start with the front view and we pose the ball in the air. Then we go at frame 13, then we put the Y translation in the channel box at 0, so the ball go back on the ground. Let's take this line of the grid as reference for the ground. So the ball takes 12 frames to go down, because at frame 1 it's in the air and at frame 13 it's already on the ground. As I said in the lesson 5, any bounce lose speed and force, so the timing slow down, so the height of the bounce. For the second bounce, we slow down timing and the ball will bounce in 10 frames instead of 12. So we put the ball in the air again, but this time we reduce the height of the bounce. To be more precise, look at the value on Y of the first bounce and reduce it a bit. The first bounce is height 10 units, so let's put the second one 3 units less compared to the first one, so at 7 units. Then we go to put the other key when the ball go down again with the same amount of frames it used to go up, so 10 frames. And we put the value of Y at 0. We do the same for other 5-6 bounces, always decreasing in height and timing. This is a reference for the consecutive bounces. So now we have all the bounces, but the movement is linear, so we need to open the graph editor and polish the curves. We select the translation of the y-axis, and if you set the curves in auto tangents or flat tangents, you can see that all the curves are smooth. So the movement is well smooth when the ball is in the air and also when it touches the ground. But we need to change the spacing because, as I said in the lesson, when the ball is in the air, we have a slow spacing. But when the ball is pushed to the ground, so when we have the contact and when it lifts from the ground, we have to speed up the spacing. So the movement have to be faster. So the first thing to do is to select all the keys where the ball is in contact with the ground, so all the lower keys, and we switch the curves in linear. You can see now that during the contact, the curves are straight, so the movement is faster. This is how it looks like. It's better, but we still need to adjust the curves. We need to use the handles to adjust the tangents before and after the contact, but if we select one handle and we try to move it, you can see that we move both the handles, the one on the right and the one on the left. So we select again all the keys on the ground and we click on this icon, break tangents. In this way we split the two handles, and so we can move them one at a time and we don't have any influence on the other one. So let's go to adjust the curve. We move them in order to have the part close to the contact much fast and slower the part in the air. The result we should have is this type of arc. We do this with all the handles. So now the ball spacing is slow, fast, slow. This is the result. It's pretty visible, the difference just touching the curves and changing the spacing. Let's now add the squash and stretch. As I already said, also the squash and stretch decrease at any bounces. So in the first bounce we have a visible squash and stretch. In the last bounces the ball doesn't deform its volume anymore. We select the deformer and we go to animate these factor attributes on the right in the inputs. Let's set the key at any bounce in lower and highest position. So let's squash the volume on the first contact from frame 13. We squash it a bit as we want. Then we go 1 frame before the contact and we stretch the ball. And we do the same 1 frames after the contact. Then in the graph editor we select the deformer factor and we slow down the spacing of its stretch when the ball is in the air, so the ball deforms its volume when it's close to the ground but quickly go back to its original shape when it's in the air. We add 2 keys on the curve, one after the stretch and another before the stretch. We move them close to the original size without the stretch, and we do the same for 3-4 bounces, and the deformation is each time smaller. So in the 4th, 5th bounces it doesn't squash anymore. Let's see the bounces with squash and stretch. You can exaggerate if you want. Okay, now we can add the forward movement. We set the key at frame 1 and at the end of the shot at frame 90. We go back on the first key and we move the ball on the left screen, just out of the frame. And on the last frame, we move it on the right screen. Let's go in the graph editor. We select the axis with the forward movement. The curve is linear at the beginning and flat at the end. Let's add another key around frame 80 and we move these keys on a value more close to the last one. So the movement starts fast and slows down at the end. This is the result. But now when we look at the bouncing with the forward movement, we can see that when the ball is stretched, it keeps a straight position instead of follow the arc movement. This is how it should be. So we can adjust the rotation using the deformer. We set a key on the rotation of the deformers on any bounce in the contact and in the highest position. For all the bounces where we have the squash stretch, and then we just rotate a bit the deformers on the key before the contact and on the key after the contact, and that's it. This is a simple bouncing ball. You can do some variation in timing or do a more soft ball adding a more squash and stretch, or make it more complex adding other balls with different weight, or even adding a surface where the ball could collide and a lot of other variation.